Could Kazuma survive in ReZero? No. Most ReZero characters can't even survive in ReZero. But the question is, how long would Kazuma last? Believe it or not, he's actually kind of powerful. He's got a whole arsenal of magic abilities that helped him defeat an entire castle of guards. His stealth capabilities are surprisingly competent, and his luck stat is insanely high too. Plus, he also has Aqua, who isn't exactly known for being useful, but personally, I could think of at least a couple uses for her. Anyway, I think Kazuma might actually have a chance, because Subaru's best ability is Return by Death, except Kazuma can literally do that too. He dies all the time in Konosuba, and Aqua just brings him back whenever she feels like it. So the real question is, how many times would Kazuma die? Let's start from the beginning. Kazuma gets isekai'd into a brand new isekai called ReZero. Now, as you may remember, the first thing Kazuma did in Konosuba was look for the Adventurers Guild. However, that doesn't exist in ReZero, so Kazuma would probably wander aimlessly just like Subaru did until he eventually stumbles upon the first enemies, the 3 alleyway thugs.
Konosuba.
Now, when they tried to rob Subaru, he threw an overhand right into a spinning back kick and almost fucking soloed all 3 of them. But Kazuma would get absolutely wrecked if he tries to get physical here. He could easily beat them with magic or stealth away and hide, but honestly, I think Kazuma would probably bond with them instead. Stealing and being a degenerate are the only 2 things Kazuma really excels at in life, so I think these guys would actually become friends and bond over the art of stealing. This video is sponsored by G Fuel. G Fuel just launched a crazy new anime buy one get one deal for over 40 fan favorite flavors, so I'm about to taste test a bunch of them for you guys. So Dragon Ball Z had this sharp strawberry flavor that truly tastes like you're getting Kamehameha right in the mouth. Naruto Sage Mode is more of a smooth peach flavor with a sneaky tinge of citrus. I think I like this one more. AOT Spinal Fluid is the weirdest one so far. It's like a very light lavender flavor, yet it also has a strong finish, unlike the anime. This Gundam one is probably my favorite so far. Never mind, Miami Nights is my number 1 for sure. Hype Sauce was absolute fire as well, and last but not least, one of my favorite anime, Elden Ring. Those were all really good, but Miami Nights is the winner in my opinion, so I'm gonna let it aerate for a couple hours in the decanter. Each tub contains 40 servings with 0 sugar that keeps you focused and gives you energy. Click my link in this video's description right now to take advantage of G Fuel's anime deal. Buy any tub and you'll get another one for free. Simple and easy. Thank you again to G Fuel for sponsoring this video. Anyway, I think Kazuma would be on good terms with the alley thugs, and maybe even Felt. Felt is also a thief, and judging by how Kazuma got along with Chris and Konosuba, I think he would have a similar relationship with Felt in ReZero. However, it might get awkward when Emilia shows up. Kazuma would probably take an interest in Emilia, especially after hearing her voice, but the problem here is Puck. Remember that Puck is able to read minds. He can't read exact thoughts, but he can get a general idea of what your intentions are. The point is, Puck would immediately expose Kazuma's degeneracy, and his probability of romancing Emilia would drop lower than Aqua's IQ. Speaking of Aqua though, I think it would make sense for Kazuma to have her with him in ReZero because she is technically the item he chose to bring with him on his isekai adventure. And if he didn't have Aqua, then this video would end shortly after he meets Elsa. Elsa is the first boss of ReZero, and Kazuma has literally no chance of defeating her without Reinhardt. I mean, what could he possibly do? Steal her underwear? It's black, by the way. The author confirmed that in a Q&A. Theoretically though, Aqua has an ability called Sacred Create Water that summons an enormous flood that could fill the entire loot house with water, which Emilia could then freeze and immobilize Elsa until Reinhardt shows up to finish her. But that level of coordination is probably impossible as long as Aqua's involved. In reality, Aqua would most likely use Nature's Beauty instead, and then Elsa would fucking murder everyone. Gods in Konosuba are immortal though, as long as they have followers who believe in them. So let's pretend that this frame from the ReZero OVA confirms that both anime exist in the same universe, and therefore, as long as Aqua's followers from the Axis cult are still around in Konosuba, then she can just revive herself and everyone else after Elsa leaves. But there's a problem. If Aqua doesn't revive Emilia quickly enough, Puck might have already started ending the world. This means that everyone would die except for Aqua and Reinhardt, and the anime would become a hentai because they would have to fuck each other to repopulate the world. I'd watch it. Except that wouldn't actually happen, because when Puck freezes the world, it's because he's draining mana from his surroundings, which causes them to freeze. But Aqua literally has infinite mana, so Puck would just endlessly drain it from her and nothing would freeze. Also, she can't get pregnant. Trust me, I've tried, but her purification just turns it to water, so the Aqua Reinhardt hentai ending is unfortunately not canon. Sorry, boys. Anyway, Kazuma would definitely try to pet this dog, which would bite him and give him the curse that would kill him later that night. However, Aqua can dispel curses, so they could pretty much skip this entire plot point. Kazuma would get way too comfortable living in Roswaal's mansion, and he would probably try to do some weird shit to Ram and Rem, although I don't think they would try to kill him because Kazuma doesn't smell like the witch. Aqua would just be drunk the whole time, aside from dispelling curses from the villagers occasionally, but other than that, not much would happen until the next arc. The royal selection meeting would be funny because instead of standing up for Emilia like Subaru did, Kazuma would probably swear loyalty to Priscilla the second he sees her. Just like Kazuma, Priscilla also has an extraordinarily high luck stat, so Kazuma would probably support her for those 3 reasons. Without a doubt, Kazuma would pretend to be hot shit in front of all of these people, and Julius would end up challenging him to a duel. We can assume Kazuma would use steel to disarm Julius just like he did with Mitsurugi, but even without a sword, Julius would still beat Kazuma's ass and embarrass him in front of the entire kingdom. But the real issue is Moby Dick. I don't think there's any way Kazuma can beat the white whale, because even if he had Megumin, her explosion wouldn't really do much because the whale is highly resistant to magic. So without Subaru, I think this arc would play out the way it did in the Pride If story, with Krush and Wilhelm getting erased from memory. Unless Aqua can lure the whale away from them. Remember that scene where Aqua clapped her hands and attracted a bunch of fish? This might be a bit of a stretch, but maybe she can do that to the whale too. Regardless, there ain't shit she can do to stop Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse would either kill Kazuma or capture him and chain him to the wall as a prisoner. Too bad Darkness isn't here, she would probably enjoy that. Kazuma's best course of action would just be to use Lurk and try to hide from Betelgeuse because there's no way he can beat him. Hopefully Roswaal would evacuate Emilia from the mansion because his gospel should have different instructions now that Subaru doesn't exist in the timeline. Anyway, fighting greed and gluttony is obviously not an option for Kazuma, so we should focus on minimizing casualties instead. Kazuma might get his memories eaten, but Aqua can literally restore memories. But if gluttony steals Aqua's memories, well, that would probably make her smarter. In reality though, she might just be immune to that, because as a goddess, most abilities don't affect her anyway. For example, this one time in Isekai Quartet, Ainz uses Time Stop to cheat on his exam, but Aqua could still walk around normally. It was pretty funny. So I'm just assuming that Gluttony's ability wouldn't work on her either. Anyway, even if Kazuma somehow survives Regulus, I think his ReZero adventure would come to a permanent end after he encounters the Great Rabbit. I will say, Kazuma's a lot less gullible than Subaru, so he wouldn't try to pet the rabbit. In fact, he would probably try to run away or hide, but eventually the rabbits would catch up and have him for dinner. Now, the limits of Aqua's resurrection ability is that the corpse has to be somewhat intact. However, the Great Rabbits eat literally everything. Like, they won't even leave behind a drop of blood. So there wouldn't be one single molecule of Kazuma remaining for Aqua to even cast resurrection on. The Great Rabbit would quite literally delete him, and that's how Kazuma's journey ends. Maybe the Aqua Reinhardt hentai was actually the good ending. It might seem like Kazuma did pretty well. I mean, he made it to season 2 with fewer deaths than Subaru, but the reality is that Subaru wasn't the only character who died in ReZero. A lot of side characters died too, and the difference is that Subaru was able to save them, but Kazuma wasn't. Kazuma left a lot of issues unresolved, and the side characters will have to suffer the consequences. So although Kazuma might be better equipped with magic abilities, Subaru's infinitely more effective in a group setting. I think the real lesson I learned from making this video is that Aqua would be insanely powerful if she wasn't a complete idiot. She's both overpowered and useless at the same time. Like, imagine being so powerful that you're immune to time stop, and then losing a 1v1 to a frog. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Next video is the tier list, and I'll just give you a hint. So far, I've been very impressed with Konosuba Season 3. Thanks everyone for watching. Keep talking about ReZero and Konosuba. Peace.